Well, it has to. If we don't spend $110,000 out of local streets, where does that drop from? Because we're not going to.
That 110 would drop just from local streets. It would just drop because you would take it away from the expenditure, and then the revenue would go back into the major streets. So you would just take the expenditure down by 110,000, and then the revenue would go down by 110,000 because that would stay in the major fund. But that has nothing to do with the general fund. The only thing that's general fund is the 149,200.
So you're telling me that if we physically expended $110,000 less on roads next year, that's not going to affect our overall spend?
That's not going to affect the general fund.
Okay, I'll have to think about that, but in any regard, what's that?
Huh? I asked Cheryl if I was correct on that. It's not going to affect the general fund. If we don't spend the 110 in local roads, that doesn't affect the general fund at all. Because the 149, now if we took the 110 away from the 149, then that would affect the general fund. We'd have 110 more in the general fund revenue account. So
okay, I see what you're saying. I'm looking back at the first page. I think that makes sense because we just have less money in the local street funds, but
right.
And less money to spend on local roads. But okay. So I'm wrong. I think I'm wrong. It doesn't solve that one problem, but it does solve the other problem, which is the fact that we're better positioned when we do have this huge bill for fixing 11 Mile Road.
Correct. The 110 would be gone, and if we don't spend it as a major road, it would be put into the fund balance, and then you'd have that money in fund balance.
Right. Okay. So I thought maybe we would get two benefits from it, but really we just get one benefit, and the one benefit is a pretty major benefit. But the trade-off is we do less street paving this year. Although voters were aware of that when they went to the polls because we hammered that point in at every turn. So
I know the engineer did discuss what road he was doing this year, and I do not remember what it was. It's in the capital improvement. Susie, do you know?
It's Santa Barbara.
Yeah, Santa Barbara.
Okay.
Did you have any other questions?
I've got some other minor questions, but that I think that's it's a discussion I think we need to have. I mean, we need to hear other people's opinions on it. I mean, there's 5 of us. I'm one voice.
Anyone else? Ann, Celine, Donna?
We're talking about doing less streets. I'm not comfortable doing that, but we have to have that discussion, obviously.
That's what we're here to discuss, I guess.
I mean, you're right, Bruce. We hammered that during the town halls, but we did not take into account a pandemic. So
we did not what?
We did not take into account that we would be sitting through a pandemic. I thought that we would be able to discuss this further other than like right now.
I'm not following you, but okay.
No,
everybody else is silent too, so I'm not sure what you're saying. I'm not sure what the pandemic has to do with it.
What I'm saying is, if we would have had regular meetings, we would have been discussing it on a regular basis. But now that you just brought it up, it's like, yeah, that's right. We were supposed to talk about that.
Well, that's what we're doing now.
Yeah, but are you asking us to make some decisions right now? I mean,
I'm trying to bring it up for discussion.
Okay.
How much is that 110,000? How much would that pave of local streets?
Well, I mean, I think we're talking about doing less than half a mile this year, and we've got looks like $400,000 in the local streets. So you're talking probably would knock off a third of of whatever distance we were paving, whatever that half mile is.
Yeah.
Be my guess. I mean, a rough estimate.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that, I mean, it's not much in terms of paving, right? So, I don't know. I'd be inclined to do without that as well and leave it towards the major streets because we're going to need that later.
Yeah, because I mean, we're gonna have a big problem in a couple of years. Come figuring out how we get that money.
We didn't have much scheduled in the way of or not major streets, but streets in general as far as paving if we applied this money. I mean, we didn't have a schedule to say, okay, we're not going to do this portion of that road or this street if we leave this in, or we are going to use this for this street, but if we did not, then we would have to take it out.
Right. I mean, if we don't do the transfer, we do less paving, and if we're doing a half a mile of Santa Barbara, then if we just do 0.3 of a mile of Santa Barbara, we have to figure out which 0.3. But that would probably be something the engineer would have to figure out what makes the most sense.
Right. Anybody else?
I was
I'm just,
wondering, did we get through this discussion, or is it
I'm just trying to figure out what makes sense here. Santa Barbara is the biggest problem right now.
Yeah, it is.
So Bruce, let me ask you, you want us to make a decision right now as to transferring or not transferring the 110?
No, just bringing it up for discussion. I mean,
Okay.
eventually we're gonna have to vote on the budget, and so the whole unless I'm wrong, my understanding is the whole point of the study session is to discuss what we want to do with the budget, and so as I looked over it, that was the major glaring issue that I could find. I mean, I have other little minor questions, but so I'm bringing it up. That's all. I'm not expecting a decision. I'm just bringing it up and discussing it.
So we have a 3-year window to transfer all that money over a 3-year period. So are we going to lose any, major work if we just transfer that and save it for a rainy day as opposed to using it? I mean, it's a third, it's not much. I say no, but that's just my opinion. What do you say, Salim?
Sorry. You know what? I changed my mind. I think we should leave it in there. I know it's not, we're going to need it for major streets later, but I'd rather pave, we've got this in there. I'd rather pave as much of our local streets as we can. I know it's not much more, but it's something. And my opinion is we should do that. We should pave what we can. And based on the budget, this is what we got in there. I would say leave it in there and do our local streets as much as possible. That's my thought.
I hate making the decision on the fly like that, but Bruce, let me ask you, when you talk to the engineer, or if you do talk to the engineer, can you give us kind of like a baseline as to what streets we would do with this money, and then we could kind of make a better decision as opposed to just looking at the total number?
It's Santa Barbara.
It's only Santa Barbara. It would be nothing else.
All we're doing this year is Santa Barbara, I think it's about a half a mile of Santa Barbara. But I think what street we're doing is irrelevant to the conversation. I mean, the particular street that we're doing, I think, is irrelevant. It's whether or not we want to invest this money in local streets or whether or not we want to save it for you know, the $1.3 million expense that we're going to have in the future. I don't think it really matters what street it is.
What is the future?
Oop.
Uh-oh. Can you hear me?
Yes, plenty echo.
What when we say future?
Ooh.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Might have a headset. Okay, so Bruce, quick question. Santa Barbara is a street of serious concern, so it does matter which street. If you were saying, you know, Roseland, then yeah, it probably wouldn't matter. But Santa Barbara is in really bad shape. A quarter mile of street being redone is a big deal.
Right, but there are many other streets that are in the reconstruct category that are well traveled as well. I mean, yeah, I think it's just I don't know. We can agree to disagree. I don't think the particular. My personal opinion is it doesn't matter what street we're talking about. It's whether or not we want to invest it locally or whether or not we want to save it because we know we have a big expense coming in the future.
Yep.
I'm trying to understand it, what you're saying. So you're saying save the money for the future and not do the street now, not spend the money on the street now?
Correct. So we have again $1.3 million, and that's in last year's dollars. So it's going to be more than that we're going to need to spend in 2 to 3, probably about 3 summers, according to the engineer. And so somehow we have to come up with that money. Right now in the fund we have the beginning balance. So where we are right now, we have $223,000 in the fund that we're going to need to pay for that $1.3 million. So we're $1.1 million short. Now keep in mind that every year we still spend about $100,000. Actually, it's a little more than that. It's about 100. I think it's 100. I don't know the exact number. It's like 125, 150,000 that we spend in non-road repairs and under major streets. So all the other things that we have to do, different pothole repairs and forestry and all that other kind of stuff. So we're at this point $1.1 million short in that fund, and we've got 3 years to figure out where we're going to come up with that $1.1 million.
Well, what would we save? But Bruce, what would we save over the 3 years? Okay, let's just say we saved the 110 this year. What would we save next year? Is it going to be
probably another 110?
Yeah, so it's not going to get us really not going to get us closer to the total we're looking for.
Well, sure it is. If we do that for 3 years, we're $300,000, $330,000 closer.
So we're forsaking that quarter mile for 3 years, or wherever. We're taking a quarter mile out every year.
Yep.
I don't know. I mean.
So yeah, we have to keep
big risk.
talking this one through. Exactly, I'm with you, because then you take the chance of you not doing this, and again, just hear me out, and we can talk it through. Not doing Santa Barbara means that it's going to erode worse than what it is right now.
Yeah.
All the roads.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean we're specifically talking. Well, I'm saying Santa Barbara because that's the major complaint that we get right now is Santa Barbara. At least
Right.
that's the major complaint that I keep hearing. It's about this street. So my concern with not doing this is that it's going to be a lot worse.
Right.
If we hold off. I mean, it's going to be pretty bad.
But residents knew that last November. My concern is what happens when we get 3 years down the road, assuming we're all on council still, and we say, all right, well, we can't do this, we can't do this, we can't do this, we can't do this because we haven't been thinking about this over the last 3 years, and now we have to come up with $1.3 million.
So even though that the residents might have known that this is what, was going to happen, it's still not negating the fact of what's going on right now. And I get that, about saving money for later, but then when you're also having a fire right now, I think that we might need to, or you see a spark of a fire, try to take care of it now. And I'm really concerned about, and I'm not saying it because I travel the street every day, but I just know that that was a major, major concern of a lot of people. Um, so
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I'm just bringing it up. I mean,
Yeah. No, I think I get it. So let me just ask this question, maybe to Pam. So, okay, let's just say we transfer the 110 this year. Next year, do we have anything that would impact the amount that we would transfer? For example,
Well,
go ahead, Pam.
it would depend on what the projects are from the capital improvement plan. I mean, I don't know what major roads we have next year, if we're gonna do a major road paving. If not, then we would have, I mean, you can transfer anything. We could have transferred 67,000 like we've been doing. We
Right.
just did 110 this year. I mean,
Because-
we have only been doing like 67,000 for as long as I remember, but this year we went up because we had the big project of
Right.
the 11 mile, the small part.
So if we know we have a major project coming, because I'm kind of moving back to not taking the money out for the road. But Bruce, if we have the knowledge as council that we need to start looking at other ways to get money, we do have 2 or 3 years to try and work on that, right?
right. I mean,
Yeah.
right. And
So-
again, that's the whole reason why I'm bringing this up now is saying,
Right.
hey, we've got 2 or 3 years to work on that. We got to start thinking about what we're going to do. I mean,
Okay.
think about, I mean, for I don't know what town halls and various presentations you guys came to, but think of, or actually I think this was mostly on villagers. I mean, think of the outrage that people were bringing up about Evergreen. And this is twice as big as what we're going to spend in Evergreen.
I think one person was creating the outrage. Everyone that I
Yeah,
spoke
but there were a
to-
lot of other people who were, I mean, who were, quite as upset about it as well. I mean, the negative side, was using that as talking points for not approving the ballot proposal. But, yeah, so again, I'm on both sides. I really am. I'm just bringing it up as the devil's advocate because this is going to be a big problem in 3 years.
Yeah, I do appreciate you bringing it up and bringing it to the forefront. And if I had to vote tonight, and I don't think we do, I would say let's keep the funds in the road fund for this year, and then do our best to be proactive in whatever we need to move towards the steps for the 3-year project, for the project that's coming in 3 years. So those are my thoughts.
Bird in the hand.
okay. Well, this obviously is going to have to be discussed a lot further. I'm trying to find our dates. Our dates for our study session. I mean, regarding the budget. Is that just our regular council
May
date?
4th. Yeah, May 4th, I believe, is the next one.
Yeah. Let me look on my sheet here.
No, I mean, that's just our regular council, right? The regular council, yeah, it's a regular council meeting. So it may be, do we have anything, and I'm sorry if I don't have it in front of me, but I'm trying to find the dates of it. I know you sent it to me. I'm trying to use all of my technology all at once. So is there another date for, is this at the study sessions? No, that's not it. I'm just thinking that we need to have an actual budget meeting just by itself, and that's what I'm trying to find.
Let's see. I'm looking for the dates.
'Cause I
Well,
honestly-
while you're looking for that, can I ask another question, Pam and Cheryl?
Sure.
On the water and sewer rates, I'm just curious why we're projecting such a big increase in sales for both of those systems. Is it because we're expecting people to be home more often and therefore using a lot more water and sewage?
I don't know where Cheryl's at. That is part of the reason. Yes.
Yeah, because I mean we're showing a 34% increase in water sales and a 43% increase in sewer sales, which, especially on the sewer side, seems like quite a bit.
Can you hear me now?
What
Yep.
was the reason for the increase? Pam, you broke up.
I said because part of it is people are used staying home more,
Okay.
right? I mean, did you hear, Cheryl, the question?
Yes. And part of it is just based on the actual projections that we were receiving from SACWA.
Okay. And then also with regard to the sewer, we've got $100,000. I think we talked about this at the last meeting. $100,000 to clean and televise about 5 miles of sewer. Do you know, Cheryl or Pam? Does that include grouting the pipes, or is it just inspecting?
Just inspecting, if I'm right, Cheryl.
That's my understanding. They do the televising and assessing the first year, and the second year they come in and do the work.
Okay, thank you.
So going back to the fact, I think that we need to set up a budget, an actual budget meeting.
Was the 5:30 time set though that we setting early? And I don't have a problem with it, but I'm just curious. Isn't that why we made these meetings earlier, so that we could go and discuss the budget? I don't have a problem. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it was. Yes, it was.
But
So we
we
could
had-
have longer.
With the
I-
technical difficulties today.
I think it was, yeah, the technical difficulties, but also I think that the discussion is a little bit deeper than the additional 30 minutes is going to give us, because as I'm looking at our agenda, we still have a lot to go through within 30 minutes.
And I agree with you, Kelly, because we're in unprecedented time, right? And so we need to do a little more due diligence with this. So I agree with that.
So, Cheryl, if you can send out a doodle or something that we can have another meeting relatively, I guess. Let me look at these calendars. Relatively soon, I would say either the first week in May. Yeah. Or next week or something like that.
I would suggest next week, because you already have the one May 4th, but that should really be finalizing any, anything about left. So you really want to have it before May 4th, I would think.
Well, looking at my schedule, I'm open next week. I don't have anything on it. So, I mean, if anybody has a day of next week that they cannot meet at all, I mean, I know that things change daily, but I'm thinking that we just need to have more time spent on this instead of trying to squeeze it in.
So between May 27th and, April 27th and May 1st.
Yes.
Hey, Cheryl?
Yes.
Has there been any talk from the state of I know there's a date that the state gives that the city budgets have to be done by. Has there been any talk of possibly extending that, given the fact that the state doesn't really know what they're going to do with respect to Act 51 and shared revenue?
I have not heard that yet. Things change on a daily basis. But that one in particular, I have not heard.
Okay.
And I don't know if they would change it because it's in our charter that we have to have it done at that time.
Yeah, okay. I was just curious.
And in terms of the days, the 27th, is that Monday? That day I am not available.
Yeah, that's Monday.
Yeah.
Any of those days are okay with me.
Okay. Ian,
Look at my calendar right now.
Bruce.
Trying to get off a full screen so I can look at my calendar.
Yeah.
Hang on one second. Looking now.
The week of the 25th, you said?
Next week.
27th.
Next
Oh,
week.
We have one on the 4th, right? Already?
Yes, but we're talking
Okay,
about
so
next.
so the following, why won't that come up? Come on, 27th.
How does the 29th, that Wednesday, look for everyone?
That'll work.
Oh,
What
I'm
time?
29th.
What time?
What's the earliest everyone can make it?
Yeah, I have a 7 o'clock on Wednesday. If I had to move one, I would move the Monday if that's the only other day.
I'll go with Monday. That's fine. Monday is good for me, the 27th.
Is 6 o'clock okay, or for everyone, or you need a different time?
That would work.
That's fine with me.
Yep, that's good.
6 works for me. If I have any delays, then I'll log in and send you a text.
Okay, so Monday, the 27th is a budget meeting at 6 o'clock.
Correct.
Okay, if you just send that out as a meeting request, that would be great.
Yep, will do.
Okay, so should we just take discussion B under, or save it for Monday?
Yes, if I could, if you have any particular questions, if you could just forward those to me by email so that we can be prepared to respond to those, that would be helpful.
Okay.
That's a good idea. Okay, so then we're gonna drop down to C, which is gonna be the Southfield Road Traffic Enforcement Update.
Yes.
Okay.
So this, if I'm not mistaken, this is for Bruce, and you requested this is.
Yeah, the last meeting he did.
Well, the last meeting I had just asked for an update, and my question was, can we extend this? Obviously, with the COVID situation, it probably doesn't make sense because we're doing fewer stops. But if things go back to normal, I think it would be based on what the success of it last time. I think it would be great if we worked with the other cities to continue it on. I don't know about you guys, but I actually have noticed with the less traffic, people are flying down Southfield Road. But yeah, I thought it was good, and it would be great if we could continue it.
As things get back to whatever the new normal is supposed to look like, we can take another look at that.
Yep. All right, so then the next thing is Rackham
Just
Walk.
I'm
Go ahead,
sorry.
I'm sorry.
Just a
Go
quick
ahead.
question. So, and I'm asking Cheryl and Kelly, should we suspend it for May? Because I don't think many people will be going back to work.
Suspend what for May?
The traffic monitoring or the code enforcement. I'm sorry, the traffic enforcement.
It ended in March.
Okay, so I'm sorry. So Bruce was asking for an extension. I thought he was saying it's already extended. Sorry.
No, it ended in March, and we'll come back around to that once we see what's going to be going on with the state, because that's something that we would have to get with Southfield and Beverly Hills and things like that. So
Okay.
kind of.
Yep. I'm on the same page. My fault.
No worries at all. Anyone else have questions about that? The next one is Rackham Water Fragmite update, and I think that was for Bruce also.
Well, I just asked last time what was going on with it, and this answers. I did, Cheryl. I did forward this to Ann Runyon. Haven't heard back from her, but I did forward it on.
And I did speak again. Just as a little background, if you recall, there was a very wet area over by Rackham that had the infiltration of the Phragmites at that site, and we did have a clearing of it last year. And what is recommended is that you do that for at least 2 seasons. But the underlying issue is, why was there such a huge accumulation of water there? And we did have Randy go out there to try to do an assessment, and they did not find a water leak. However, when he went back out there again today, and it was unusually wet, it was wetter than you would anticipate with the amount of rainfall we had. So they're actually going to dig up that area to see if there might be a small leak in the water line over there. We're still investigating it, but in the meantime, we will be, we're planning to move forward with trying to continue the eradication of the Phragmites.
I will let Ann know that as well.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions about that? Comments? Okay. The next one is a code enforcement officer update.
If you recall, council had approved the addition of the part-time code enforcement officer, and we had received almost 150 applications, so it took quite a while to go through all of those. And we conducted a series of interviews and have extended an offer, a conditional offer. We completed the background check. We're waiting to hear back from the applicant on their acceptance of the offer, and assuming that they do, they will hopefully start early May.
Okay, thank you.
Cheryl, incidentally, I love this new format that you did where you give kind of like a memo thing for each issue. I think it's great.
Okay. Well, I found it helpful to keep track of the inquiries and actually doing a response, so I'll keep that in mind.
For discussion F, parking blocks and parking solution.
This was based on the inquiry from Mayor Pro Tem Cantor, so I don't know if you wanted to indicate what your concerns were.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was surprised at our last meeting because on our February 3rd meeting, we had decided as a group that, you know, that we were going to we were going to check for legally non-conforming status, and then if they were legally non-conforming, you know, we had said that we were going to send a letter to basically let them know what the problem was, and that we would be ticketing aggressively, and that, you know, hopefully that would spur them to the businesses to take some action, whether or not like what is it, Odell? They put a sign up on their door, you know, alerting their customers, or if they wanted to take it a step, you know, at their own discretion, take it a step further and actually install the parking blocks. But at our last meeting, I was obviously kind of surprised because I hadn't heard anything about the whole talking about the whole changing in mixed-use parking that we're going to talk about tomorrow night at the Planning Commission. But regardless, whatever we do with the Planning Commission and the whole Southfield Road project, we're looking years down the road. So that's a long-term solution, and I don't think that we're asking, or we're not telling businesses that they have to put these in. We're just telling them what the problem is and what we're going to be doing about it, and they can decide on their own. But I think waiting, you know, I mean, we know how Southfield Road has gone. It's always 5 years down the road. Now I feel like we're getting more serious, but we're still 6 years down the road, and you know, I think we should address the problem now with the letter. The other issue too, Cheryl, I read the letter. That was the first I had seen it, so I was glad you attached it in here. But my question on it, I mean, I know we didn't send it out yet. I'm still hoping that we will, but I guess that's for us as a group to decide. But it sounded in the letter like we were telling them they had to do that, and I don't think, and this is guidance from Scott, but I don't think we can tell them that because they're legally non-conforming.
Right, unless we amended and made a public health, safety, and general welfare police power ordinance that we could require them to come into compliance with. Under a zoning ordinance, they do have a legal non-conforming status.
Right, so if we do send a letter out there, I think we need to soften the tone a little bit and kind of change it a little bit from, you know, they have to do it to, one suggested, alternative or solution is to, install those if you're interested, but you need to alert your customers somehow. So what I'm proposing is that we move forward with changing the tone of the letter, sending the letter out, and continuing to ticket, and simultaneously continue with the long-term approach of solving the parking issues, which we have to do anyways because of the whole Southfield Road project that will come at some point in our lifetimes, hopefully.
Understood. I do want to mention that the side street parking was being viewed as something that could happen even prior to the overall Southfield reconstruction.
Yeah. Well, why don't we see what, because we have a planning commission meeting tomorrow. Why don't we see what happens? I hesitate to say, and I'll report back to you because I know we're all sick of talking about this. I should let me rephrase that. I'm sick of talking about this, and you're sick of listening to me. So, why don't we have the planning commission meeting tomorrow? See what we talk about there in terms of the side street parking and what the potential implications and time frame of that are, and then I'll report back at the next meeting that we have.
Okay.
Hey, Scott, one more question.
Sure.
Can you tell me on page 11, down towards the bottom, the section 513.8C? I read that a few times. I really couldn't understand what that meant. What is in layman's terms? What is that saying? It's in the letter that Cheryl had drafted.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Failure to maintain and repair off-street parking facilities or adjacent driveways and right-of-ways used for parking. I mean, the way that reads, I think literally means if they don't maintain the public-owned portion of the either right-of-way parking or like an alley parking, that would be a basis for revocation of their certificate of occupancy.
So is that saying the piece of, like, so on these businesses right on Southfield Road, is it saying the piece from Southfield Road to the sidewalk, which is the public right-of-way that they're using for parking, they need to maintain that?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'd have to pull up here. Let me see if I can do this.
Hey, Bruce, were you asking about C or D? And Scott, were you responding to C or D? I think.
I was asking about C.
Oh, I thought you were talking about D.
Yeah.
I think C and D are
Pretty similar, though.
While they're looking, can I ask a quick question about parking, but not necessarily this parking? I noticed that on the police report, I think it was the police report or Scott's court report, that there were additional parking violations because people are home more and more cars in the driveway or something. I noticed that there were a lot of court cases because of cars that have been in the driveway for a while. Was that as monumentous before this pandemic?
Well, actually, those enforcement actions were taking place. That's part of Jim Wright going after the council's request to go after the unlicensed and inoperable cars in the driveways. That's why you've seen an uptick in those. There hasn't been a court case since the lockdown went in place.
That makes sense. Thank you.
I think we're done with this one.
Yeah, unless there's some other follow-up that,
Okay.
Not for me.
Is Kelly still there? Okay, I think the next item was the parking signs on the residential streets along Southfield Road. If you recall, we did have the traffic control order issued by Chief McKee relative to having those signs that would prohibit parking on the side of the street where the mailboxes are, Monday through Saturday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. I believe DPS did install a couple of those signs in the most problematic areas, and they'll continue the completion of installing those signs starting in early May. Mayor Garrett, are you there?
I think I brought this one up at the last meeting. Thanks for the update.
the sign, next one at H is the sign ordinance update. That was for me. I did talk with Jill, and she sent me over her proposed amendments last week. So I have to go through those, and then her and I, well, it'll probably come to the Planning Commission next month would be my guess. You'll probably see some input from the Planning Commission on this.
Sounds good.
For some reason, we lost the audio for Kelly. I don't know why.
Well, I guess while we're waiting
About
for
5 minutes before our next meeting, so.
while we're waiting for her to come back, does anybody have any comments from council?
I think Salim was going to give an update on the marijuana subcommittee.
Yeah, I can do that. So we had our second meeting in April, a couple weeks ago, I guess. So a good meeting, and we came out of it, we discussed kind of what our initial goals and framework were, and we set some tasks. We assigned people to various tasks, and we are following up through on those tasks this month. I think our next meeting is scheduled in May 5th. So it's moving forward, and Ian was on it. We had our whole team on the call, and each person's got something to do to follow up on this month. So we're kind of moving forward with that.
Okay. And then I guess, Salim, you had another one on here. Point I was the recycling program update.
Yeah, I still have to follow up on that. I haven't done that yet. So I'll need to do that for the next one.
You skipped the infrastructure. Oh, okay, I see where you're at.
Yep, and so I'll give an infrastructure committee update. So I think everybody knows that there are 2 town halls coming up this week. One on Thursday at 7 p.m. and then I believe the other one is this Sunday at 3 p.m. The idea is to, we as a committee, we've developed 3 potential road plans that we think might be of interest to residents based on the feedback that we got from the last election, and then we've had a lot of input. One of the great things about all the controversy over the road ballot proposal last November was that it got people engaged, and our meetings have typically had 15 to 20 people in them. We've gotten a lot of great ideas and feedback as we've been going through our meetings, and now what we want to do is we want to bring that to the rest of the community. Obviously, we can't have an in-person town hall. We had actually scheduled this for about a month ago, So we're going to do it virtual. I don't know how it's going to go, but we've been advertising it on the website. Hopefully you guys are all going to attend, at least one of them, and see what kind of feedback we get on the various aspects of the plan.
I look forward to them. Can I ask a quick question?
Can you hear me now?
Sundays,
Yep.
yes, we can. Sundays, why do we schedule those meetings for Sundays and not Saturdays? And I just say that because Sunday to me, it's a hard day for me. And I know a lot of people have been saying they'd like to keep their Sundays. So is it a reason we do Sundays rather than Saturday?
I think because the room, when we scheduled the original one.
Oh, got it.
Okay. But this time, I think I just picked it based on my calendar. You know, when we've been scheduling the town halls, you know, back in November, we tried to put them on different days at different times. So we wanted to do a weekend day. We figured we were going to do later in the day on Sunday because it was after church. So we didn't want to conflict with that for people. I mean, any time we pick. I mean, the next time we do it, we can do it on a Saturday.
Okay, that would be appreciated.
Yeah, I think anytime we pick, there's going to be people who won't be able to make it. That's why we're trying to do more than one, so people have multiple opportunities to get there.
Yeah, I just noticed that more politicians are scheduling meetings on Sundays, and that's a hard day for me. So just wanted to throw that out there. But yeah, you're right. The community room was really popular and congested. So thank you for that.
Yep.
I'm a
Kelly,
part of it now, I see.
I'll turn screen duties back over to you.
Oh, hold that thought before you do that. I gotta.
We're on item L, Kelly.
I know where we're at, but he's turning it back over to me for the screen duty.
Oh, I can do it back right then for this.
So we're down to, and we only have a few minutes for that. So wait a minute, I want to pull that up. Okay, so about the city administrator goals and evaluation, I don't have, excuse me, I don't have them all. So once I have them, then I'll put them together to for us to discuss. That's all I got on that one. What I wanted to say, going back to the parking blocks really fast, because that's what I was trying to jump in there about the ticketing. And I guess this is something we're going to talk about also during our agenda. But I'm a little hesitant on enforcing so many of the codes that we're having, and maybe this is what we'll discuss at the end of the meeting, especially in this particular environment right now. And when I was looking at the names of the businesses that were the ones that were in question, are they open at this time?
Yes, I mean they're not open with their normal business hours, but they are open. You know, for example, today when we were walking, there was actually a car that was pulled all the way over onto the grass across the sidewalk. But they do have businesses that I think the doctors are taking appointments, just not probably more. I'm guessing probably more severe cases. The hair salon is closed. The one strip center that's got like 3 healthcare businesses, their parking lot seems to be full most of the time when I go by there. But I agree with you. I mean, I totally agree with you, Kelly, on, you know, you and I have talked about this privately about, you know, not being as big sticklers on enforcement, but this is just a carryover discussion that we've been trying to deal with this thing for a year and a half. So, you know, we don't have to aggressively ticket while this is going on, but once, you know, we go back to normal, we should continue our plan.
Okay, well, that's all I have for that one. So I see that it is 7:02. So let's switch gears and go into the actual regular meeting.